Look at his catalog, man.
I'm Fat.
Oh.
Amish Paradise.
Rio. Yep.
I was on Jeopardy.
Another
The
one
white
rides the bus. And people getting their flowers. News. It was recently revealed that a Tribe Called Quest will be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Props to them. I'm excited for this. I think it's deserved. Yeah, I know there are people who are always going to take, a certain level of umbrage with hip hop acts getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'll speak on it a little bit later as far as what I feel about that. But, what do you think about Tribe getting that nod and getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I love it. You know what I mean? And quiet as kept, I think they belong into like the Jazz Hall of Fame too, because that was my introduction to jazz music for the most part. You know what I mean? Was coming through Tribe. So yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's all I can really say about it. There's no hate there. There's nothing I can do to refute it. Even though, I have that same sentiment that you have about, wanting, I would love for us to have a hip hop Hall of Fame as opposed to.
We do have one. It doesn't get the same level of credibility.
Is that the one at KRS?
Yeah.
Museum?
Yeah. So
there's not enough money behind it.
I don't, there's not a whole television show built around it. And, there's not a whole museum in the same way that the one in Cleveland is. But at the same time, the fact that they made it, I'm very happy.
I might drive over to Cleveland for that.
It's a big deal. I think. Because, we always talk about the difference between commercial and underground hip hop. And even though Tribe Called Quest to a certain extent made it to the mainstream and getting #1 albums, these were the guys that really were the underdogs at one point. Even though they were on a major label, it was still hip hop. And this was when hip hop was not mainstream. There's still people fighting against even having a group like a Tribe Called Quest on the radio in 1989, 1990. So, before I go too deep into that, Longevity, what I know you said you only know a little bit about it, but what do you think about Tribe Called Quest getting a nod and being into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I don't care.
Okay.
But I will say this. But it's because I don't care about the establishment. In reference to hip hop, it's not that I don't. It's like, oh man, screw Tribe Called. No, they're legends, right? No, I think it's dope. I think it's dope just because of what it has turned into. It's more than just rock and roll music at this point, and it has been. And so I think it's cool that they're getting that nod. But I don't put a lot of credence into it in the same way I don't put a lot of credence into the Grammys. It's just, to me, it's just an award show. I don't really care about that aspect of it. But yeah, for them personally and specifically, hey, good for them. Shouts to Jerobi. He's one of my friends on Facebook. So
nice. Jay Diff, what say you?
I just think it's one of those situations that is dope as far as paying homage, because Tribe is instrumental in the development of groups like Outkast.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Instrumental in the career of Dilla.
Very much so.
Kind of responsible for leaders of the new school. Which brought us Busta Rhymes.
Yeah.
So which was one of the dopest features ever when it came out.
I agree.
So I think it's a solid nod to a lifetime achievement.
Yep.
That being from a Tribe Called Quest, because I mean, like you said, the vibes of jazz and things of that nature were using it. Granted, Guru and DJ Premier used jazz elements as well, but
all came around the same time.
Yeah, the way that Tribe used them and the way that they chopped it and presented it to you, and then Q-Tip's voice. Nobody has a voice like Q-Tip.
No,
it's not like it's boisterous and in your face, but it's a very recognizable. Even his solo joints was dope to me. So definitely shout out to Tribe Called Quest.
I completely understand why, I almost think it shouldn't be called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It should be called the Modern Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because it should be everything that from rock music going forward, and maybe not even in the past, because there are blues musicians and jazz musicians who are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that music predates rock and roll, when Alan Freed dubbed it rock and roll. So there are people who, like, what's his name from Kiss? I know he always takes a certain level of criticism every year because he says, hey, why are these guys into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Gene
Simmons. But shout out, I understand what you're saying, because it's not rock and roll, but honestly, Dolly Parton isn't rock and roll either, and she's going in. Mary J. Blige isn't rock and roll, and she's going in. The Temptations were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before they even had a building in Cleveland. So I understand the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is what we know it as, but if you look at who's been inducted even before, and who was inducted at the ceremonies, even before, there was a building to put the awards and memorialize people in, they were inducting more than just rock and roll artists.
Right.
So I think that is a tired argument for those of rock and roll artists who thinks, why are a Tribe Called Quest or NWA or Public Enemy putting next to Led Zeppelin or Kiss? Get over it at this point. So I'm happy for a Tribe Called Quest.
We don't want them in this lily white.
But at the
None
same,
of that jungle music in this.
but at the same time, I think if we're going to do that, if we're talking about impact, if we're talking about quality, then we need to start talking about, there are conversations need to be had about Gang Starr going in. Yeah. I'm not sure if De La Soul is up or being considered, but they need to be considered.
And this is the part where I start to lose interest, because it's like, all right, cool. I just feel like it's putting too much onus or putting too much importance on this. Like, oh, well, now we need to do this. We need, oh my God. And I respect what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, in general, it's like, we really just kind of need our own thing, or we just, or they just need to call it.
We need to show more love to it,
or change the name of it. Like you said, I don't know.
I don't think they'll ever change the name of that establishment, though, because again, like you brought up Gene from Kiss. I'm sure there's a lot of people like that are not going for it, including whoever owns it. Because at the end of the day, they may be allowing other people to go in, or the other genres, because it brings more people to their establishment, which means more revenue for them. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, they probably figured that out a long time ago and was like, well, we'll just start inducting all genres of music, only those that are at the top of the game, and we'll still call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But we're going to get all these people that come visit, which in turn pass our pockets.
More money. But once again, shout out to a Tribe Called Quest.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Cleveland. And I have a strong case that y'all need to hurry up and get New Edition in there as well.
Yeah.
I expect that from you.
Yeah, you should. You should. Yeah. They got NWA in there. Come on. As far as put the CDs on the table, New Edition needs to be in there.
Weird Al needs to be in there.
Weird Al?
Yep.
Nah.
Look at his catalog, man.
I'm fat.
Oh.
Amish Paradise.
Rio. Yep.
I was on Jeopardy.
Another one rides the bus. You know what's messed up? The fact that we know so many Weird Al songs.
Hey,
Hey man, we came from a time and place where
Dare to Be Stupid. He had a choice.
Had to listen to a little bit of everything.